Welcome to the tutorial for Kanova's Time Turner pop-up download. The download can be found on Etsy in my shop, Creative Art Co. If you do not wish to download more specific measurements for the pop-up can be found on my May 2021 bullet journal setup. I'll provide links in the description box below to the video as well as my Etsy shop. This project is designed for bullet journals or a DIY pop-up card. Some creative liberties have been taken to make sure it can fit properly in the bullet journal. Please hit the pause button between steps to give yourself the time you need. Alright, let's print out our time turner and of course gather all the materials needed for this project. You will need 5 sheets of cardstock, scissors, glue, craft tape, a needle and thread, a scoring tool, and an Exacto knife. Let's go. Your time turner download has a total of 8 pages. 2 pages of directions, 2 pages of section A, 2 pages of section B, section C, your base, and reference images. Let's turn our attention to the legend. I wanted to make everything as clear as possible. So we're going to go through each section so that you understand what pieces you are looking at. So the black line, the black bold line means to cut. So any black bold lines you should cut, all other lines should be left alone. For example, in the B2 section, there is an hourglass in the center of it pictured, but you're not to cut that hourglass. We'll talk about that in a moment. The gray areas are meant to be glued together. Anytime you see a dotted line, you should fold. We'll get into the specifics of how things are supposed to be folded when we get to those sections. Last and certainly not least are the circles with the small white dot. These let you know where to insert your needle. You'll see them throughout the tutorial. They are not an indication of how large the circle needs to be, just merely where the needle should be inserted. Let's talk about the sections. Section A is your horizontal circle. This is the circle that's going to be parallel to your journal. It's labeled A1 and it has 2 needle insertion points and side slits. The outer spinner, labeled A2, has an hourglass in the middle of it that is bolded. This indicates that it should be cut out. When we start putting things together, this inner and outer spinner will make more sense. Section B has your vertical circle and inner spinner. The vertical circle is labeled B1. It has a decorative side or finial, as I've been calling it, and side slits, along with a tab. If you watched my May 2021 bullet journal setup, you'll notice that these have been added for your convenience. It's very important that the tab not be cut off. You'll see a dotted line indicating a fold, and we'll talk more specifically about that when we get into piecing your time turner together. The inner spinner, or B2, has an hourglass in the center that has a gray outline. this spinner should not be cut. This is very important. This is where you will draw your sand or add glitter if you wish. Section C is your base. It has fold lines, and along that fold line is a place where you will cut, and that is for the insertion of your tabs. The only other thing on that page of importance is your insertion points for your needle, and there are 2 of those. I just want to say, at any point during the video, if you feel like you need more time to do things, and you probably will because this video is done a little bit faster than real time, please pause the video and start it back up once you have completed that task. So if you haven't started cutting, you can begin now. Once all your pieces are cut out, you will have a total of 8 pieces plus your base. So you'll have 2 horizontal circles, 2 outer spinners, 2 vertical circles, and 2 inner spinners along with your base. Once you have completed cutting all these items out, and you have the appropriate number of items, you can start the process of decorating your turner. Now, I used a vinyl adhesive to do my time turner to decorate it, but you can use whatever you wish. For the purposes of this video and those who might want to use the vinyl sticker, I am showing it. It's important to note that when you're gluing down, you want to glue the white side down and your gray sides up. This will allow you to be able to still see the important information for piecing together your time turner. Once you finish decorating your circle, it's time to write your inscription. While a font has been given to you to guide you while you write it, you can use whatever font you wish. The words on the horizontal circle are, "I mark the hours, every one, nor have I yet to outrun the sun." For the vertical circle, the inscription reads, "My use and value unto you are gauged by what you have to do." You write this on your time turners. I wrote it on both circles because the circles are interchangeable and you want to be able to see the inscription from any side that you look at it. Don't forget to decorate your inner spinner with the stars seen on the original. I'm using an acrylograph pen to draw mine. I'm using markers to add sand, but you can also use glitter by simply putting a little glue and dipping or pouring a little glitter onto that area. All right. Let's grab the pieces for your spinner, A2, B2, and a piece of thread. You're going to take piece B2, decorate it side down, and you're going to add glue to the gray side, centering your thread in the middle of the circle and making sure there's a little bit of thread at the top and bottom so that you can properly place your spinner when the time comes. Make sure you cap your glues so it doesn't come out and make a mess while you are working. Once you have your thread placed, you're going to add the other B2 circle over the thread. This is your inner spinner. This is where your sand is drawn. Now you're going to take your A2 and B2 circles and you're going to connect them. So your outer spinner is going to be connected to the outside of your inner spinner. You don't need too much glue because you don't want it to get all over the place. So place it carefully on your spinner. You're going to carefully flip it over. And apply the second A2 portion to B2. All right, so we're gluing this final portion onto our time turner spinner. I just want to give a quick tip. I probably should have told you this at the beginning, but you're watching the video so you can stop and pause if you need to. And this is the first time we're really getting into gluing things together. Grab a wet paper towel. You don't want it to be super wet, but wet enough, and keep it near you. As you go through the process, you can wipe off your fingers, which helps with the process of gluing things together so things don't get quite so messy. Now that we have everything glued together, I am using a black marker to create shadows on any portions that are white. Shadows are natural, so if your cuts are a bit uneven, you can simply go in and add some shadow with a black or a gray marker. I like to use black, but you can use gray as well. All right, there it is. Let's put it to the side and let it dry. So we're working with section A1. These are your horizontal circles. You're going to get your needle and thread. You're going to thread your needle, but you are not going to knot it. It's super important. You don't want to knot it. You are going to tie a knot eventually, but you don't want to knot it as you are pulling through the thread. So you push the thread through at the needle insertion points that are on your circle. These are on the north and south portions of your circle. At this point, you will tie a knot here. I double knot it so it doesn't come out. And then once you have tied it, you can cut your thread. These little anchors will be the things that position your time turner so that it pops up in the right spot every time. You're gonna get the string out of the way, it just makes things a little bit easier. Put it on the other side of the table, and now we're gonna grab the other piece of thread. If you struggle to thread your needle, you may want to clip your ends just a little bit just before you insert it so you get a nice, fresh, unfrayed piece of thread to go through there. It's perfectly normal to struggle with threading a needle a little bit every now and again, even when you do it all the time. So you're going to do the same thing you did on the other side of the circle. You're going to insert the needle into the insertion point, which is clearly marked there on your circle. You're going to pull it through again, and you're going to tie that knot. Be careful not to pull the string all the way through. If you're worried about not having enough thread, just use an additional amount so that you have plenty of thread to work with. You can always cut it in the end. I recommend 10-inch pieces of thread, but if you need 14 or 16 inches just so that you feel more comfortable, do so. All right, now it's time to glue the other circle on top of this one. So you're gonna grab your second A1 circle, decorate it side up, and you're going to align the pieces with the slits. This is super important. If they're not aligned, then you will have trouble piecing your time turner together in the end. All right, grab your glue. Don't put too much glue, just enough. I find if you place glue, a little scribble in the center, that it works just fine. It sort of will separate out to the sides anyway. It's just the nature of this particular type of glue. If you're using regular glue, that's fine. The UHU is extremely durable and is the glue that I recommend though. All right, so let's make sure that they're aligned. The slits on the side. I would go as far as to bend it. You'll see me check it here and adjust it even to make sure, there we go, that it can easily be moved so that the other circles can get inside there. All right, your horizontal circle is complete. You're going to put it to the side so that it can dry. I bet you thought we were going to section B, but no, we're going to go to section C first. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to fold along the dotted line. Do this carefully. This is what's going to be positioned in your bullet journal or that you will attach a cover to. Use your scoring tool. I have a proper scoring tool, but you can also use the edge of a scissor or a ruler, whatever you have. Just use something to give it a good score. You want a very good crease. Now we are ready to grab our needle again, and you simply are going to poke your needle through at the insertion point. I poked it again for good measure, but you don't need to do that. And then poke it on the opposite side. Once you color and everything and decorate your base, you will be able to see these circles so that you can insert your time turner. This is the part that is glued into your bullet journal, so you won't see all this writing. So you're going to cut the slit, which is marked for you. And eventually you're going to put a tab in there and some other strings and things, you'll see. Now I'm going to skip the decorating of the time turner base, but at this point, that's what you would do. You would make sure your base is decorated as well as your tabs. All right, so it's time for section B, or your vertical circle. You're going to take 1/2 of it. It doesn't matter which half, just choose one, and you're going to fold along the tab lines and you're going to position it on your base. You're going to glue your base tab down. This will keep it nice and sturdy as you work on your pop-up. You really won't have to worry about movement from that side once you do this. Don't forget to cap your glue. All right. If you have time, give it more time to dry. I am doing a tutorial, so I'm keeping things moving at a different pace. All right, now you are grabbing your spinner. You're going to take the thread at the bottom of your spinner and you're going to push it through the slit. You're going to pull it through to the base layer, and then you're going to position your time turner in the center of the vertical circle and in the center of the tab. You'll notice that my spinner is a little high up, and I'm going to have to make that adjustment in a minute. You don't want anything to interrupt the flow of the spin, so you want to make sure that it's directly into the center. I notice here what's going on, so I make the adjustment. There we go. I just pulled the string a little bit, made the proper adjustment. There we go, it's right in the center. And you can see that bass string. You're just going to leave it there. I know you're like thinking we should go to the next step, but you're just going to leave it there. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to turn your attention back to your horizontal circles. Hopefully they are dry by now. You're going to get your string. There's lots of strings, but you're going to try to get your string positioned correctly, and then you're going to put your time turner in the proper place. I'm showing it here. Once you sort of get it in the proper place, then you want to fold at the slits. You can see how it's positioned. Once you have folded at the slits, you're going to pull up your time turner. It's kind of like raising a building, if you will. You're going to grab your craft tape again, and you're going to tape down this string. You want to make sure that it is taut. You want to make sure that there's not a lag and that it sags, because it will not spin properly if you don't tape it properly. So this is critical to getting the spin that you want. And you can already see that it's moving in its placement there. It is natural for the thread to sort of move, so we are going to tape the additional thread to the side, at least up to the top portion just before we get to the circle. We're going to cut the string, any excess, off at this point. All right, make sure your strings are out of the way. You can see I moved it out of the way, and then it fell back. It got hot on my hand and fell back. There we go. Correct it. This just makes things easier. So now we are in the process of positioning. So notice I pulled the horizontal circle string through the circle. Now I'm making an adjustment just so that this fits easily. You may have to do this. Sometimes materials will make it harder for something to connect with the slits. It's fine. You make the adjustment. The spindles are there, so you have quite a bit of space. Just go a little at a time though. You don't want to overdo it. Make sure that string is pulled through, rotating so that the tab is down and not up. So you're just positioning, making sure everything is working properly before you take out the glue. Because once you start gluing, there's really no turning back. Now, I chose to use the gold foil on the tab, mostly for visual purposes, but you would normally leave this white and decorate it the color of the base. All right, so I'm pulling it off. We got the positioning correctly, and we're going to add the glue. Now, I don't add the glue to the piece that's being added. I add the glue to the piece that is already positioned. It's stationary, it's stable, it makes for a lot less mess. And I'm also only putting glue on the bottom portion of the time turner. This gives you a bit more control, a little less messy, if you will. Notice I haven't glued my tab down just yet. Now that everything is in place, let's glue the final pieces together. So I'm putting a little glue on the tab, testing my fold, making sure everything is positioned properly. Checking on my fold. Getting everything glued down. Now we're going to add glue to the final portion of the time turner at the top. It may look like I was applying a lot of glue, but really I am just moving the top around. The glue just kind of naturally oozes out of this. It's like it doesn't want to stay in the container. All right. So now we're going to use our threads to position your time turner. You have pieced it all together. This is the last time we'll be using the glue, so I'm cleaning a few things out of our way. If you need to, you're going to cut the end of your thread a little bit so you can have an easier time with your needle. Okay, now you're going to push the needle through the insertion holes that you already poked through. So you should be able to see those holes very easily. And now you're going to do this. You're going to pull your thread and you can see how it positions your time turner. This takes a bit of adjustment, so it's a little trial and error so you get the correct position. You can't tape it too much because your card won't shut, but you don't want it to just lag or else your time turner won't stand properly. So a little bit of trial and error. This is why we use the tape. So you're going to use 3 pieces of tape, about 1.5 inches in terms of size, and you're going to do an eye when you do the tape. You'll see exactly what I mean. So I pull the time turner into position. I hold the thread, and then I take the tape and put it exactly over the hole where the needle went through. Then I take a piece of tape, and put it along the thread in the middle of the eye. And next, you're going to place the final piece, so you'll have a completed eye. I'm testing and looking at the adjustments. There's no finite way to do this. This is really sort of trial and error and getting the positioning correct so that it closes properly but also is secure. When it closes properly and stands properly, you will know that you have found the correct positioning. You've come this far, so you can just take your time and make sure you do it correctly. All right, we got our eye in place in terms of our tape. Now let's turn our attention to the other side. Notice I'm still adjusting. There we go. There we go. Now we're going to turn our attention to the other side. All right, grab your needle, clip your thread, and let's insert into the other hole. Pull it into place, so we're making sure our fold is nice. Testing our positioning. There it is. I'm going to shut it before I tape it down. Make sure it lays flat. And we're going to add our 3 pieces of tape in an eye. Congratulations! Your pop-up time turner. You can see it spinning already. Final pieces of tape. Now this is the point you would glue your base into your journal. You would put glue on one side, insert it into the journal, rub it down, and then apply glue to the other side and close the journal. You want it to have a natural positioning. I don't think I need 2 time turners in my journal, so I'm just gonna show you what I mean. That time turner is very busy spinning. Now you're going to add glue here and close your journal. I always use the elastic strap to keep it pressed together. You could even add binder clips if you think you need to. It will need proper drying time, but even at this point, you can see the time turner spinning properly. Thanks for doing this with me. If you enjoyed this content, I encourage you to go back and look at some of my other bullet journal spreads. There's videos for the 2020 flip through, along with spreads for all of 2021. And if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, like videos, and engage with me, and let YouTube know that this is the kind of content that you like. And don't forget to hit the bell so that you can get all of my videos when they are uploaded. Till next time.